Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. This is our 136th show. And my name is Rosemary Lachance, and I'm an energy healer and a spiritual therapist. We're going to do the show a little bit different tonight. My co-host is going to be the one who's going to be talking to you, and you're going to find out all about Lisa and what she does, the wonderful work that she does. So I'll let her tell you all about it. But anyway, her and I are both co-hosts for this thought-provoking series and are dedicated to providing you with food for thought information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, environmental concerns, and so much more in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their fields. If you know of any subjects you would like us to discuss, or if you know of anyone you would think would make an interesting guest, please just let us know. And please like us on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box, where you can learn about and see pictures of our guests and ask questions or leave a comment. We hope you enjoy the show. Now, Lisa, the title of the show tonight is How to Help Develop Your Child's Spirituality. And our guest speaker is Lisa Burton. Hello, Lisa.
Well, it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Okay, let me read you a little bit about Lisa. Lisa Burton is a visionary and pioneer in the field of holistic and mindful education. She has been a pediatric occupational therapist for over 23 years, working primarily with children experiencing sensory processing disorders and related social, emotional, and communication challenges. She is a polarity therapy practitioner and certified in infant massage, instruction, and cranial temple activation. She offers teachers and parents training on bringing holistic and mindful living principles into your everyday life experience. Okay, so we're going to ask her the same question that we ask all our guests. How did you get involved in this type of work?
Well, it was a bit of a journey. I was an occupational therapist for many, many years, working primarily with autistic children and their families. And I had an opportunity to take over a small preschool, which was really exciting. And at the time, I created an integrated program for the autistic families I was working with. So the children could come to the preschool and have typical peer models and help their language and social skills develop. So that was my initial inspiration to start the preschool. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, I started drawing on my polarity therapy training, which looks at energy and how energy systems work, and started applying it to the relationships the children had, both with their parents and with the teachers. And it let me really have a wide range of children to work with and to create a curriculum and activities and routines that help the children develop mindfulness practices.
Well, that sounds interesting. Now, can you define spirituality?
Yes. The way I look at spirituality is I look at it as a way that we each try to get back to understanding the source that we came from, mm-hmm. and to understanding the God, if you call God your source or wherever you call your source, the God within each of us, and really being able to live that type of daily life. So if I were to think about the idea that we are really spiritual beings inhabiting a human body, mm-hmm. that's kind of the way I look at things.
Right.
So that sounds
yeah.
familiar to you.
Yeah.
So with that mindset, as a spiritual being, I already have this source intelligence, this source wisdom, this source knowledge, again, whether you call it God or something else, I have that flowing through me. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times the systems that we live in, our educational systems, often try to diminish that mm-hmm. in us, and many of us spend a lifetime trying to remember that we have that ability and that knowledge within ourselves.
You know, I think that they they don't touch it in the schools because what they know and what they talk about is religion. And religion is different from spirituality,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
Religion is a man-made organization that each teaches what their beliefs are.
Right.
But spirituality encompasses all of us. We're all spiritual beings. We don't have to go to a church or believe in any kind of religious affiliation, but just live the golden rule and help and other people and be kind to animals and whatever, all the things that are beautiful that we should do. And this is something they don't teach children in schools these days.
No, and I think our society shows that. You know, there's a lot of rules that are more about making children comply, making children feel ashamed if they can't toe the line, making children feel humiliated in front of their peers, all as an effort to get the children to be controlled, but really, really dishonoring that inner spirit within the children. And we're seeing backlashes.
Oh, yeah.
We just had something recently in Pennsylvania. You know, I think he was a 16-year-old boy who went on a rampage stabbing children.
When did this happen?
This must have been Monday
Wow.
of this week.
Because we've just been hearing so much of it lately.
Yeah, yeah. And if you think about the events, they're usually boys between the ages of 16 and 22 or so that have kind of been on the outskirts of society and not understood, not well accepted within that system, and they're angry. They're angry.
And I think they have very low self-esteem.
Yes,
yes. And, and when you have low self-esteem, I know from my experience with people that I have therapy with, it makes you want to be special. And sometimes the only way to be special, right, is to get attention. And the way they think that they can get attention is by committing these terrible acts. Well, now they're special for a while. They're in the limelight. They can't discern that that's not the kind of special you want to be.
Right, that somebody has finally noticed them.
Right.
And heard their pain or heard their anger.
But look what they did. Look how they're going to suffer now, and that's sad. What you're doing is you want to teach that now. Nip it in the bud. Stop it before it happens.
Right, and I think that that's something that we don't realize as adults, that children need to be taught. They also need time to practice these ideas. They need to be taught what it means to be a good friend and to have that language around them and opportunities to practice that and opportunities to reflect when maybe you didn't make the best choice that wasn't the kindest to your friend, and how does that make you feel as well as your friend feel. I think sometimes the educational system thinks that the children should know that already. So they're very prompt to identify when there's a problem, but there's not a lot of resources to help the children find the words that they need to express themselves.
Yeah, you're right. I think that one of the problems is that teachers expect the parents to teach it, and the parents expect the teachers to teach it. And I think they have to get together and decide how they're going to do it, right? What do you think?
Yeah, and I think sometimes as adults, whether you're the teacher or the parent, because I have worn both shoes, you don't always know. You don't know how to teach it.
That's true.
How do you break big concepts like that down for smaller minds to understand and to grasp, and how do you create opportunities to practice? So again, there's a big separation here in our society about how to cultivate those spiritual skills.
So we need teachers to teach teachers, which is what you do.
Teachers to teach teachers, and teachers to teach parents, and parents to teach parents, and just to start a communication. I sometimes feel that we tend to live in a spiritual closet, that for some reason it's taboo to bring up spirituality.
I know. You're right.
And that's crazy.
Well, you know where it came from, I think? And I've always said this, that we were taught when we were young, as we were growing up and so forth, don't ever talk about religion or politics, okay? And I go, why? Why can't I talk about it? And then as I got older, I realized that it's not that we shouldn't talk about it. what happens when people talk about these two things is that they try to convince the other person to believe as they do.
Right.
And that's when the arguments start.
Mm-hmm.
You should never force your views on someone else. But it's nice to hear someone else's views, and you can say, well, what do you think about this particular religion or this particular candidate? Or just tell me what you think. Don't force me to believe what you think. Just tell me, and we could have a nice, interesting conversation. I give you food for thought. You give me food for thought, right?
Right.
And that makes some of the best conversation there is. So I think that's where that stemmed from, about saying, let's not talk about religion, you know?
Right.
And then they go, God forbid, you talk about one, you don't talk about the other. You know, you can't talk about Jewish without talking about Catholic, without talking about Protestant. That's silly when it comes to children, right?
Right.
It's all silliness.
Right. Yeah, so I think again, I view spirituality very different than a formal religion. So it should be more benign,
Right.
just to talk about spirituality.
Exactly. So what inspires you then to do all this?
Well, oh gosh. I had the school for 6 years, and I saw children come to me around 18 months or so, typically. I have a child who is in 5th grade now at elementary school. So I am around children a lot. I'm around families a lot, and I see there's a lot of pain. I see there's a lot of stress. The lifestyles that we're forced to live now, fast-paced technology, go, creates a tremendous amount of stress. I see school anxiety for children. We're really hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Parents are hurting. We don't know what to do. The old ways of trying to discipline children do not work now. Our kids today are very different. They come in, I feel, with a lot stronger connection to their source, and the idea of trying to bribe them or threaten them, they're not going to tolerate that. They know that that's not the right way to be treated. So we have to have different ways to discipline, to guide them, but done with mutual respect for that inner spirit, and allowing them to have choices, have an opinion about what might be happening, and to be understood. So the inspiration came from the pain that I saw on a personal level, and then all you have to do is look at the news, and you see it's all over the country.
Exactly.
With the gun violence, drugs.
Children going into school and killing other children, and it's really sad, and teachers and everything. It's so sad.
So the world does not really feel very safe.
No, it doesn't. How do you define holistic and mindful principles?
When I talk about holistic and mindful principles, I'm looking at holistic principles as a natural way to manage stress, a natural way to take care of your body. A lot of it starts with your breath. So making sure that you are doing deep breathing throughout your day to keep your stress level low. Making sure you have some sort of movement in your day, whether it be yoga, Tai Chi or Qigong, or treadmill, whatever it is, something that you do to move your body as a way for relaxation. Looking at our diets. It's a huge, huge, huge one with the kids, especially kids who are hyperactive. And really, we've talked about this before, our food source is so unpure now.
Oh God, that's so true.
Most things that we eat are not whole foods. So we have a lot of junk in our systems, a lot of preservatives, dyes, that all impact our body's ability to fight off disease, to be able to focus. I did hear recently that one of the major fast food chains has actually started to drop off in sales this year.
Ah, good.
So people, I think, are starting to think twice about what we're putting into our bodies. So that's the holistic piece. And then the mindfulness piece is really taking the time to become more self-reflective. So I am aware of myself in a situation almost as an observer. I'm neutral about something, so my button doesn't get pushed quite so easily, and I'm able to be more responsive to the child, in this case, and their needs at that moment, and not reactive. So both principles take a lot of effort. Sometimes it's hard to make changes. And if you just want to pick one little thing and make a shift there, that's a place to start.
Okay, so now, how do you teach this? Do you teach this to, I want to get an example of how you teach the children. You know, maybe we can do that a little bit later, but I want to see how you would do it from the spiritual point of view, you know? So our school systems are failing our children, right?
Yes.
Why do you think so?
Yes.
Because of...
Well, I think what's happened is, again, if I were to think back to being a spiritual being in a human body, that I have some basic needs as a spiritual being. I need to feel obviously safe and secure. I need to feel that I have freedom to create, that I have people around me that understand me and that are able to give love to me and appreciation to me, and that I'm able to offer compassion and love to others, and that I'm understood for that, regardless of what the behavior might be. I'm understood, and that I have independence and the opportunity to act on my creative desires. So if you were to think of all the things I just mentioned and think about a traditional school day for our kids, most of those things are not highlighted. Okay, so we've gotten very, very, what I'm going to call left brain focused, where it's all about memorizing facts, regurgitating facts.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true.
Technology, just kind of information in, information out. So the whole right side of our brain, all the things that I had mentioned previously, with the creativity, with self-expression, with understanding me and others from an emotional standpoint, all of that is drawing on the right side of our brain. Our intuition, very big in the energy world, and that really does not get a lot of focus. So really we're teaching and engaging our children primarily on one half of their brain.
Right, right.
So, and again, if you look at the kids that really are acting out, I think a big common factor they share is that they just don't have an outlet to express whatever it is they're thinking or feeling. And what are the first programs to be cut? Art and music.
Yes.
And gym. So you're not letting them get the energy out physically, and then you're not allowing them to express themselves creatively. Again, we're just lopping off one half of the brain.
You're right. Why do we have to memorize so many dates of so many wars and problems of democracy and all the things that, you know, go on? And you're right, memorize this, memorize that. For what? When will you ever use that again? And the most important things are not even taught. Sad. So can you tell us about the basic emotional needs of children?
Yes, yeah, I tapped on them a little bit before, but we'll go into them in greater detail.
Yes.
I have a little chart here I'm going to refer to.
Okay.
So this work was based on Marshall Rosenberg's work, and he is a gentleman out in California. He started the Center for Nonviolent Communication, and has done a lot of really great work in helping teachers, helping parents. I'd recommend his website highly.
Is that something you want to show to the audience, or just for your notes?
I don't think they'll really make sense of this.
Understand it, okay.
Yeah. But anyways, his website would be the Center for Nonviolent Communication, Marshall Rosenberg. And again, he looked at basically 4 areas of looking at basic emotional needs. This is for adults as well as it is for children, but my emphasis is the children. So our physical well-being is we need to make sure that there's enough food, they've had enough sleep, that they have physical touch, that they're able to move, and that they feel safe. I'll share a quick little story about a situation we had in the child care center once, where we had a little guy. He was about 2 at the time, and he had been a very busy little boy to begin with, as most boys are. But all of a sudden, it was September, and he was really, really hyped up. He was boom, 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 boom all around the room, wouldn't sit and engage in a toy activity, pushing, hitting the kids that came near him, trying to bite, really, ramped up behavior. So we asked the family, was there anything different that had been going on at home, because his behavior was of concern. And they said yes, actually the routine had changed, and that when September rolled around, the older daughter was now going to kindergarten. So he was being dropped off at daycare first, and they were driving the girl to school. So he was dropped off maybe 8:15 or something, and they had not been giving him breakfast.
Oh dear.
So their thinking was, well, we know you have snack, so he's having his breakfast at snack time with you. And I said, yeah, that's true, but we don't have snack until 10.
Right.
So, gee, I think he's hungry.
Yeah, low blood sugar, here we come.
Right? So that's where all the aggressive behavior was coming from. So, well, we can solve that easy. Just, send in breakfast with him, and he can have that as soon as he comes in. Behavior stopped right away. So getting a little curious about some of their basic needs and digging deeper instead of just looking at the behavior.
Yeah, and that's what teachers do, right? They just look at the behavior and say,
Right.
oh, he's a bad boy.
Right, so he needs a timeout because he's hitting,
Yeah.
whatever. But we were able to say, let's dig, and we'll find out that we can actually correct the problem by just having him have his breakfast with us. Okay, so that's very basic needs that they have under physical well-being. The next area would be connection and interdependence. So this is the ability to give and receive love, to feel accepted by others, to give and receive compassion and empathy. Okay? So again, we're trying to get folks to look at a child who might be out of sync and not on board with a classroom routine or at home, and try to look at what need in that area might be off for them. Are they not feeling accepted by the group? And that's why they're acting out. Okay? And then there's ways that we can help them feel accepted. Another area is in meaningful expression. So that brings in the creativity, the self-expression, the need to play and create things, the need to be understood, and the need to learn. Kids are like sponges. They want to learn. They want to learn. They want to be stimulated. So again, if I see behaviors going on in the classroom that the child is not complying with our routine, is this an area maybe where they need more stimulation? They might need an extra activity to do that has more details involved. A simple art activity might not be enough to keep them engaged. Okay? And then the last area is autonomy, and that is the need of freedom, to have space, to have choice, and to have independence. Okay? So again, trying to create an environment where each child has a part and a say in what it is that they're learning about. So they have the independence within our parameters still, give them choice, and allow that to be fulfilled for them. So it's a way to look at the children from an emotional standpoint and understand that these are very basic needs. And if you have behaviors that are not what you're liking, let's get curious about what the emotional need might be for them that's not being fulfilled. Because as you said, if these are off and they're not being met, chances are they're going to do some negative attention-seeking behaviors. They're going to become mischievous.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to become unruly until somebody pays attention to them. So there's lots of ways that we can help them do it in a positive way.
Okay.
And again, unusual for behaviors to be looked at from this perspective, that an emotion might be causing the behavior.
An emotion.
Right. Or the emotional need not being met.
Right.
Might be the cause of the misbehavior.
Okay. Now, a thought crossed my mind. What if teachers say to you, I don't have time to look at each and every child and see what's happening and be able to do that? You know, what do you say to a teacher that would say something like that? I don't have the time. I have 20 students in my class, and we're talking about the little ones now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this stuff would be appropriate through elementary school.
Through elementary school.
Yeah, maybe even middle school, but certainly elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the really great thing, is because the needs are universal for all of us.
Yeah.
So the needs are universal. So if I set my classroom up to support these needs through different routines and different activities, the likelihood I'm going to touch upon most everybody on the first glance is pretty high. If there's a child who's struggling with something a little deeper, then I might have to get activities on an individual basis for that child. But if I just do a few simple routines, I can have everybody's needs met.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you want to share that?
It's like magic.
Do you want to share that?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that.
So one of our really common things that we do in the classroom, and again, now the samples I have are for our younger kids, but they could be easily adapted for the older ones, is I'm going to see if I can reach the basket.
I'll get that for you.
Oh, thank you. So this is called our comfort basket. It can be filled with anything. It can be done at home. So depending on the age of the child, you might change the objects a little bit. But the idea is that it's a prop that can be used when a child is in distress as a way to help them self-regulate and calm themselves. Okay, so they're learning tools for themselves to calm themselves and to talk about what they're feeling. Because once you're able to name whatever the emotion is that's causing you upset, once you can name it, then it's not overpowering you any longer, and it's not so fearful. It's not so scary. So in our comfort basket, we have a teddy bear. We have a little book. We have some Band-Aids. Band-Aids cure almost anything. Some tissues and some lotion. Okay? So the way we used it in the classroom was that there would be a person, one of the children, who has a job, a classroom job for the week, to take care of the comfort basket. So that child's job would be to identify if there was somebody who was upset in the classroom, and to bring the basket to that child and see what items in the basket would make that child feel better.
Oh.
So what you're doing is they have to be taught initially, and you have to model for them, for the children, but they catch on pretty quick. What you're trying to get them to do is to start to talk about why they're feeling sad, what the emotion might be. I'm also teaching the person whose job it is to take care of the basket how to have empathy for somebody who is sad or upset. Okay? So if I have empathy for you and understand what it feels like to see you feel sad, then I'm going to have compassion for you, and I'm not going to have a need to tease you or to bully you, because I get you, I understand you and your discomfort.
So you teach that also in there, how they can have empathy for
Yes.
the other child?
Yeah, because as you're introducing the prop, as you're introducing how you use the basket, you would have to say to them, oh, Emily, it's your turn to take care of the comfort basket this week. Do you see how Nancy was sad when her mom left the room? Do you see how she's frowning? Do you see how she looks worried? Okay, whatever the situation might be, you're helping them label what the child might be feeling.
Mm-hmm. And do they notice that when you say that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So these are 3s and 4s.
Mm-hmm.
Twos get it. An older 2 would get it also. But again, it has to be part of the culture.
Right.
You can't just put the basket there and think that they're going to know what to do.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but this is part of the teaching. So for somebody who says to me they don't really have the time for all that, I would suggest that if they took a few minutes to explain the concept and demonstrate once or twice, it would be well worth the investment of time because the kids will be calmer throughout the day. So the other part of this is that the child who is upset gets to make some choices. That no, it's not really the teddy that's going to make them feel better. That's not going to work for them. It's really the Band-Aids.
The Band-Aids.
They want the Band-Aids. All right, so they're starting to realize what works for them to help them soothe themselves and to feel calmer.
A Band-Aid is like something to cover a boo-boo, right?
Whether it's a real boo-boo or
right.
a feeling boo-boo.
Right, a feeling boo-boo, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and again, I remember I was guilty of this too. There's a certain age where kids just love Band-Aids.
Yeah.
You know, if they could, they'd decorate their whole body with Band-Aids. And I found myself, you know, not wanting to give the Band-Aid every time it was asked. And I said, how silly is that? Right? If your child is telling you they need a Band-Aid, let's use it as a way to talk about what the feeling is behind the Band-Aid.
Right.
Not say, oh, you know, we can't use more Band-Aids today.
I'm curious to see what the lotion would do.
Yeah, it's just a tactile input.
You mean like they would child would take it and rub it on somebody?
No, they would rub it on themselves, on their hands.
On their own. Okay.
Yeah.
So the child would hand the lotion to the child that was hurting, and they would rub it on their hands, and that would help make them feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
The other thing too with the whole prop idea is that you're building the mindfulness component into that child's daily existence because they're stopping and they're taking a minute. Okay, what do I need for me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the mindfulness piece.
That's good.
Yeah, so big lessons in very, very simple ways.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
You don't have to have all these big things, big props, big expensive things to teach anything.
No.
Simple things.
And, you know, if it made sense for you, you could just have a teddy bear in the basket. The idea is just to have a prop to start a discussion. So we would always encourage our families to create baskets at home also. Again, you could work with your child of what might make sense for them. If it's an older child, it might be, I don't know, like one of those squishy baseballs or something that are, you know, stress relief.
Yeah, right.
Something like that, something a little bit more mature. But again, a prop to start a discussion about what's going to make you feel better.
Now, are the other children paying attention when this is happening?
Mm-hmm.
They're watching, so they're learning from watching the other two children interact.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's really great.
Yeah, it was very helpful as a whole classroom experience.
That's great. Now, what are these books? Want to talk about these books?
Yeah, these books are really great. These books were written by an educator, Carol McLeod. They are gaining in popularity, which always makes me smile. The premise of bucket filling.
Yeah, the title of the book is Have You Filled a Bucket Today? A Guide to Daily Happiness for Kids.
Mm-hmm. So she has several of them out. I brought 2 tonight, but this, I believe, was the first one that she had done, and it's kind of the Bible, if you will, of her work. But basically, the bucket filling concept is that we all walk around carrying an invisible bucket that holds our happy feelings and our positive thoughts. And if my day is going well, my bucket is full, everything is good, I'm feeling great. And then if something happens and Johnny takes my toy or grabs it away from me, I start not to feel so good because he's dipped into my bucket. So again, this is something that's taught to the children. It's the language of the story that's taught to the children because we're not bucket dippers. We go through life trying to fill people's buckets, and when I'm filling your bucket, I'm filling my own as well, and I feel better when I make you feel better. So there's examples of how we fill buckets. Just simply smiling at somebody is a way to fill a bucket. It's not literally going out and buying things to put into the buckets. It's more about our interactions with each other. And the way we introduced this at the school was we read it to the children, and then we did activities where we made paper buckets with each child's name on it, and would have the friends in the classroom say positive things about that child. So we're filling their bucket.
The kids would say little positive things? Can you give me an example?
Oh, they would say things like, I like his sneakers, or he runs fast, or he's
cute.
my friend. Things like that.
Yeah.
And the teachers would often fill in ideas too, qualities about the child that was appreciated. So, so now we have created a community of appreciation, okay, with our paper buckets. And then we would create a family bucket that was blank, that would go home, and the book would go home also. So the family could read it together, and they could do their bucket filling activity as a family, how they appreciate one another, and hang that bucket on the refrigerator if they want to. And then I know the parents know what we're doing at school, and they have the same language, bucket filling, bucket dipping, to use to reinforce desired behaviors. And we found we would just have to say, if there was a conflict between children, we would just have to say, gee, Johnny, did you just dip into Ben's bucket? And the children would pause. Yeah, I did. Okay, so how can you make a better choice? What could you do to fill his bucket? Oh, I can let him have a turn with the train. Okay, so they're resolving the problems themselves. So this is an example of where, at this age, we're taking the time to teach them those skills and not expecting them to know how to resolve conflict.
That's great. That's good, because having those props like the bucket and so forth is something they can identify with.
Right.
And in their little imaginations, they can picture themselves taking something out when they're not doing good and putting it in. It's a wonderful idea.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah, and again,
simple and wonderful.
The 2.5-year-olds will get this.
When you send the book home, does it come back, or do the parents go out and buy one of their own?
The book would come back. Maybe they would buy one for their library.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would think.
But it was a way for us to introduce it to them if they weren't aware of it, and then we would reinforce and read the book at least once a week in the classroom.
Did you get feedback from the parents about it?
Yes, and that was what was really exciting, because this was probably the third or fourth year I had this school, and we had tried several different character ed development programs, which is where I would put this under. But this was the one that got the most response, and this was the one that we had parents telling me that the kids are using the language at home between the siblings. Oh, he dipped, or he filled my bucket. And simple visual, like you say, they could picture it, which I think is why it was so successful.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And that you use it, more people should use it. Parents and teachers should use that. That's excellent.
Yeah, so again, it was used as a way to help the kids self-monitor.
Yeah, because
their
right
behavior.
then and there, you get it right then and there when it happens, and you're right, the mindfulness, they can see, oh, I did this. Instead of them doing something, going about their business, doing something else, going about their business, not remembering what they did wrong. This is very good.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing of it was, too, that it stopped a lot of the tattling, where they would just come to the teacher all the time that, oh, he took my train, or whatever, because they had the skills to resolve it themselves.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Such a great way to teach.
Yeah, so that was a very exciting.
Can you reach that? Show me to get that for you?
Yeah. So this was, it's by the same author. This one is Fill a Bucket, a guide to daily happiness for young children. Typically, I would use this one with the under 3s, and this for over 3.
And that one is what?
It's the same idea.
Whoops.
It's the same author, same idea. It's just a little simpler pictures and simpler language. for a 2-year-old.
And that just says, that's just a filling the bucket. And this one is, what was that called again? How to fill it's how to fill a bucket too, also.
Yeah, same author.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's for the younger ones, easier. That's great.
Yeah, a little simpler pictures
Mm-hmm.
and descriptions.
These are great books.
Yeah, and she has other ones out now. These were 2 of her original ones.
All right.
Can I keep going?
Yeah. Oh, that's another. I didn't know that was one.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, of course you
Yeah.
could keep going.
Good. So these are little hearts.
Mm-hmm.
They have a positive message on it. This one says, do your best, be amazed, I love you. Simple little thoughts. And we call these kindness counts, make a wish, things like that. We call these lunchbox hearts and or pillow hearts, depending on how you need to use them. So these we would offer to the parents to put in the children's lunch boxes as a way to stay connected throughout the day. Okay? Because remember, when children feel connected and that need, basic emotional need for them is met, the likelihood that they're going to act out in a negative way is less. Okay, that's one of the basic emotional needs, to feel connection. So when you're little and you're dropped off at daycare for 10 hours, a way to keep that connection to mom and dad is important. Some children feel it more than others. So this would be, again, just a simple visual reminder that at lunchtime, when the sandwiches are all pulled out, you know, Sally has a lunchbox heart from her mom. So the teacher would read it. Sometimes they would write a note back to the mom from the little girl or boy,
nice.
acknowledging the heart and how much it meant to them. And again, just keeping that connection
That's
going.
a great idea. That your idea?
No, not really.
No?
No, God knows where these came from. I would just make sure they happened.
But you saw them, yes. You saw them and gathered everything, all that information, yeah.
Sometimes parents would just write one
Oh,
themselves on
that's
it, you know,
nice.
even on a napkin, you know.
That's nice.
Yeah, yeah. So, so then for the pillow hearts, if you're having trouble at bedtime, and again, the children don't want to go, they're always dragging out bedtime.
Yeah, right.
Okay, one more glass of water, 5 more minutes, one more book. Okay, really, it's that they don't want to separate from you. It's not that they're trying to be a pain in the neck. They want that connection. So here you have your pillow heart that they know they're going to find underneath their pillow at night. It's waiting for them already. So now it's exciting to go look and to go to bed. You're not dragging it out. All right. So just another way to stay connected and let them know, another reminder that you've thought of them and that you care.
That's right. And a piece of mommy's there.
Yep.
Or daddy.
Yep.
Mommy and daddy are
Waiting.
there. That's God.
And
That's
then
great.
and it's staying all night under the pillow with you.
Isn't that nice?
So either lunch, yeah, right? Either lunch or nighttime. Whatever makes more sense for your kiddo.
You know, I was reminded when you said that about the lunch boxes too, that, you know, when a wife has a husband who travels and he goes to the motel or the hotel, he opens up his briefcase or his suitcase and there's a nice card from his wife.
Well, yeah.
Hallmark does that well, right?
Oh, yeah.
And saying, you know, I'm going to miss you. That's just as much loving for the husband
Sure.
as it is the children. If we can do that for each other, we can certainly do it for the children.
Sure.
That's a great
Sure,
idea, yeah.
sure.
That's a great
Yeah, and
idea.
again, you know, these concepts are really not bound by age
No.
because it's the filling that need, that emotional need behind it
That's great.
for all of us.
That's so great.
Yeah. So again, easy ways to kind of get the whole classroom on board and making the children feel connected and part of the group.
That's great. That's really, really, really great.
Well, thanks.
Okay, let's see. All these questions I wanted to ask you, I want to make sure that we get them all in. Did we ask you about can you tell us about the basic emotional needs of children?
Yep, I had gone through that.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, so you answered the question in a different way. And why is it important for children to be able to identify a range of feelings?
Yeah, that we could elaborate more on. The range of feelings are important because what I think most adults spend a lifetime figuring out is that I can control my emotions and my feelings, that they don't control me. Okay? So nobody can make me feel guilty or angry unless I give them my permission.
Right.
Okay, so that was a big one. And I remember when I really started studying this stuff, I'm like, really? But
Yeah,
I
that's
have a
true.
right to be mad. But you can't make me mad by what you did. It's me allowing myself to be mad.
That's right.
Yeah, guilty, whatever the emotion might be. So when we look at the emotions, we know that emotions guide our thoughts, and our thoughts guide our behavior. So if we can get very, very clear on being able to master our own emotions and control our own emotions, then we're just so much freer to really live that spiritual life and be effective. And what our source tells us is that we all have the right, the ability to live in a state of well-being. That's how we were intended to come here, to be in a state of well-being. So when my emotions are in a place that are taking me away from anything but love and joy, then it's a clue to me that I need to do something to shift this, because I don't want to stay in this negative emotion.
Right.
And that our emotions are either love-based or joy-based, or they're coming from a place of fear.
Yeah, they say there are only two emotions in the world, right? Love and fear.
Right.
Everything is based on those two emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm going to talk about a fear-based emotion, I might say that it's a negative emotion. I don't mean that it's bad, but that it's negative on the continuum. And it's a lower frequency. It vibrates at a lower level. So I'm going to not feel as good if I'm in one of those fear-based emotions. So anything like worry, overwhelm, frustration, anger, those are all in that range of a fear-based emotion. So it's important that children be able to label what it is that they're feeling, right? Because a lot of times they may have happy or angry in their vocabulary, but there's a lot of emotions in between that are not as intense. So as they lighten up, so to speak, that emotional spiral coming more towards love and joy, they're going to feel better. So part of the comfort basket experience would be offering words like frustration or worry instead of just anger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Between, yeah.
One word that came to me when I was studying this that really struck me was the word boredom as an emotion. And I thought, really, boredom? That's an emotion. I was thinking, okay.
Yeah.
But it's pivotal, because boredom is the last negative fear-based emotion before you start coming into the joy-based words. So if I can pick up a kid's feeling bored, feeling of boredom in the classroom, and I can engage that child and I can direct that child and get them involved in something, so they're starting to feel more content, more inspired, and they're moving closer to joy. If I can snag them at boredom and start shifting them up, I'm golden. If they're left on their own, I know they're going to go further down that spiral into overwhelm, anger, frustration, and all of a sudden their behaviors are now imitating those more intense negative emotions. So boredom is key.
Why do you think a child would be bored
Well, lots of reasons why a child would be bored. So if
in school? Yeah.
yeah, so if, again, I'm always going to come back to figuring out what the emotional need that's not being met for them. And again, if we're thinking about the classroom, very left brain, very analytical, very structured situation, oftentimes I would, even with the little ones, I would see that it's my more intelligent, my quick thinking, my more curious child who looks bored.
Mm.
So maybe they finish their project fast, then they have free time, and they don't know what to do.
I see. Okay.
So they do something mischievous. They start dumping toys.
Mm.
Why is he dumping toys? Because he's bored.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's give him an activity that has more pieces to it. Let's give him something that's more open-ended so he can continue to create and take it apart and create something different.
Mm.
All right?
Yeah.
So if I look at the boredom and equate it to an emotional need for his creativity not being expressed fully, and give him opportunities so that happens to keep his mind engaged and productive, then I've avoided all that mischievous acting out.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, you know, sometimes our kids, certainly the little ones, don't know how to re-engage themselves. They need guidance from the adults. But I think even in the elementary school ages, those kids too, if they finish their seat work fast and they don't have anything to do, you know, they're the kid who's going to start tapping on the paper, you know, drawing attention to themselves in some way because they need stimulation. So maybe the teacher has some extra activities already set aside that she knows she can quickly pass to that child because he needs to be stimulated intellectually.
We have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
So, what? I had a few questions here, but I want to ask you: what is there any points, especially that you'd like to get across to our audience before we close? Like, how can parents and teachers learn more? I know you teach this, so they can get in touch with you. You give these classes and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what would you like to say in closing?
Yeah, I would like to really offer people to get curious about looking at their child from this emotional place, and how can we shape their behavior in a way that empowers them and allows them to really stay connected to their spiritual being that they are and express their creativity, have it acknowledged, have it appreciated, and shape them from a way that expands their beauty,
Mm-hmm.
then shape their behavior in a way that squashes it and contains it.
Yeah, you know, I keep getting these pictures of the high school children who come from neighborhoods, you know, that are not as unfortunate as other ones, and how they're in class and how they act out, and how you can't talk to them so much like that because their peers are there and they'll make fun and everything. But I'm thinking in my mind, if they started out like what you're teaching, and you built that mindfulness and that making them feel good about themselves and raising their low self-esteem, that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen for those children, you know?
That's the
It'd
hope.
be so wonderful. Yeah,
Right.
that's right. I mean, things
Right.
can always go wrong at home, and, you know, there's always the case where things don't work out. But if only these things could really, really be taught. You're one person, you know, and I'm sure there may be a lot more people like these people who wrote the books and everything,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much information out there for parents and teachers, right?
Yes.
And you can help them greatly if they get in touch with you, yeah.
Yes. Again, the bucket filling, there's a website there, bucketfillers101.com. She has a lot of activities there. The Center for Nonviolent Communication, his website has information. Those are very good sources right there.
That's great. That's great. Anything else you want to tell our audience?
Just have fun. It's all about the joy.
Got a couple more minutes left. Say that again. You what?
to just have fun, that it's all about the joy. That's our whole journey here,
Right.
is to return back to this natural state of joy.
And can you start someone who's like, you say this is from kindergarten right through grammar school? Can you start someone in the 4th grade with all this? Can you do
Sure.
it? You can start doing
Sure.
it then and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
That's great.
I don't think it's ever too late, because a lot of the principles really apply to us as adults. You know, we can't extend love and compassion to somebody unless we have it for ourselves.
Right.
So there's lessons for every age group here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
People should have buckets.
Yeah.
Adults,
Yeah,
adults should have buckets and walk around with the buckets, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wouldn't it be a great world if everybody just got together and
Or
loved one
random
another?
acts of kindness.
Yeah, random acts of kindness.
Right.
Pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. And it happens once in a while. And people feel so good about themselves when those things happen.
Right.
I remember seeing something on TV where there was like a candid camera, and a waitress was being very mean to a gay couple that came in.
Mm-hmm.
And people weren't paying attention. And she was talking and telling, "Why aren't you ashamed of what you do?" And, you know, very loud, so people wouldn't pay attention. And then finally, these people got really upset, and they went up and they told that waitress, "You have no right to talk to these people like that. This is not your business. It's their business. They're doing a good job. They're raising a child. They're doing this." And they went over to those people and they hugged them. And I was crying, you know, to see that goodwill and see people sticking up for each other and helping one another. I was just crying and crying. I thought that was just so great, you know.
Right.
They wanted to see how people would react with something like that. I thought it was just wonderful. But I always get emotional when people are kind to one another and do nice things for each other or for the animals, you know. I just think it's a wonderful thing. I'm going to cry now. Anyway.
Well, I got tissues in the basket for
Yeah,
you.
the basket. All right, well, we're going to give our contact information and Lisa's so that you can get in touch with her and get all this wonderful information and help. Okay, to learn more information about this show or any of our past shows, please contact us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com. Or to reach me, Rosemary Lachance, phone 203-627-7966, or my website is www.rosemarylachance.com. And our co-host guest tonight for Lisa Burton, her phone number is 203-804-0024, and her website is www.theonejoy.com. And we are also on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box. Visit us and leave remarks, and we'll see our guests. It's great. Okay? Thank you. Now, the quote for tonight is, how do children learn to correct their mistakes? By watching how you correct yours. How do children learn to overcome their failures? By watching how you overcome yours. How do children learn to treat themselves with forgiveness? By watching you forgive yourself. Therefore, your mistakes and your failures are blessings, opportunities for the best in parenting. And those who point out your mistakes are not your enemies, but the most valuable of friends. You do not have to make your children into wonderful people. You only have to remind them that they are wonderful people. If you do this consistently from the day they are born, they will believe it easily. Okay, that's it for tonight, folks. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Lisa, thank you. That was great. We'll both be back again next week. Thank you.
Night.
Good night.
Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand.